Bringing in for more analysis, the writer and journalist Mira Kamdar, who joins us. Mira, thank you very much for being with us here in France 24. Do you feel that this law, this new law, could become the a weak spot for Narendra Modi?
It could be the straw that breaks the camel's back or the drop that makes the vase overflow, as we say here in France. It's the first time that a series of actions that Mr. Modi's government has taken that have sort of accelerated since his recent reelection, has been met with protests. And so, if we just step back from the protests that are going on today and that have been happening the last few days, and go back to the summer when his government finalized a national citizenship registration program in Assam, very controversial, in which almost 2 million people were deemed to be not citizens of India. Their fate is in limbo at this point. Some people have committed suicide because they don't see how they can continue living in India if they're not citizens. That was that. Then there's the pledge by Amit Shah, who's been the head of the ruling or elected Bharatiya Janata Party, and who's now the Home Minister of India, and is really one of the most powerful political figures in India. He's talked about less than Modi, but he's very powerful, pledging to take this national citizenship registry nationally beyond Assam. Then we had in August the revocation of the special status of Kashmir and the lockdown of that state, the arrest of its very mainstream elected leaders, including one, Mehbooba Mufti, who was in a coalition government with the BJP during Mr. Modi's first administration. They're still under house arrest. They're still arrested. The Kashmir has been, Indian Kashmir has been without internet service now for 135 days. It's virtually been turned into a prison. Then you had last week the passage in both houses of Parliament in India of this citizenship amendment bill, which offers Indian citizenship to refugees from neighboring countries who are of every religion you can think of except Muslim. And this all kind of added up to people, especially India's Muslims, but not only, also people concerned about the secular nature of the Republic of India being turned into a Hindu nationalist state, saying, whoa, this is getting out of hand, and people have started hitting the streets.
Is there any way out of this that avoids, say, Modi having to do a U-turn, which, I mean, clearly he's not the sort of person who's for turning?
He's not the sort of person who's going to U-turn, and he's got a whole organization behind him, which is not just his formal political party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, the elected party, but the Bharatiya Janata Party is part of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak, the RSS, which is a radical Hindu nationalist group that is directly inspired by the Nazis. They wear khaki shorts, they do a salute, and Mr. Modi grew up from the age of, from being a young boy in this culture, and there has been a carefully built, broadening sort of establishment of the power of the RSS at local levels across the country. So he's got all of that behind him. On the other hand, what's very interesting to me is whereas the international press and international leaders gave Mr. Modi a pass on the ideological side, which really hasn't changed. He's always stood for these things. He's always been a Hindu nationalist. But he was given a pass because he was seen to be an economic reformer and someone who would unshackle India's economy and lead India on a road to prosperity. Well, India's economy is in the dumps. Growth has plummeted. And suddenly now we're seeing in a broad spectrum of the international press, and including the business press, extremely critical articles and editorials on what is going on in India on the ideological front from publications such as The Economist, The Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, etc. So that's very interesting. And so he's not only got pressure internally, but, the shine is sort of off internationally.
Mira Kamdar, for now, we'll leave it there. But thank you very much indeed for that wider analysis and context on the situation currently playing out there in India with this citizenship law, which is brought so many people protesting onto the streets saying that it is anti-Muslim. Mira, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.